so welcome back to another episode of The Journey. For this podcast episode / YouTube, we have Mandela in the building. Welcome.
Thank you.
So to the audience that really doesn't know who you are, or maybe they do, you're blowing up a little bit more.
Okay.
Let them know what you got going on.
Sure.
What are you about?
Okay, so first of all, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Mandela Effiong. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at the camera.
I mean, you can look at both. It's
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
My name is Mandela Effiong. Native Houstonian. What do I do? So I would say at this point, I do two things: fitness and programming, like we was talking about earlier. I'm really into fitness. One, for myself, think it's a better lifestyle. It teaches me a lot about discipline and just kind of helps me think about how I want to set up my goals, even in other assets or venues of life. But I realize also that I want to help other people get fit. And I think that that's when I feel more fulfilled, when I feel like I'm helping other people. So fitness and then web development. I don't know if they really just have a connection, but that's what I do. So
okay, so I guess let's get started with the fitness.
Yeah.
Were you always into fitness? Like early on, did you always like sports?
Yeah. So I mean, this is Texas, so most people I know play football, right? And I had an older cousin who was really big on football, so I was in the weight room at a young age. But believe it or not, around even up to high school, I wasn't really just into the weights consistently. It was more when I went to college that it was just a way to kind of like relieve stress and kind of therapeutic, like allowed me to have thinking time. So just one thing I remained consistent at and realized that I like to do. And at some point I realized that I'll probably be lifting for a while just because I like to do it.
So Houston Texans or Cowboys?
Man, dude, I'm a Texans fan.
Texans fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys. When the Texans went around, I always support them because they're a Texas team.
Okay, I respect that.
Yeah, Texans.
Texans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
We had a rough year.
We did, man. We did. I haven't even been paying attention to football, but I know people were just like super disappointed.
Yeah, man, that's the thing about the Texans.
Yeah.
No, well, that's good, man. So then going into web development, we kind of talked about this even before the camera started shooting, but I guess just let us know. I asked you when you started your passion for web development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, like we was talking about before, I wanted to sell clothes online. That was the main pursuit. Really hip, like street fashion. I was into street fashion.
Okay.
And I saw a profit in that.
And this was back when?
So I graduated in 2008. Now people's gonna know how old I am. But, I would say that was in 2008, about 2007, 2008.
Okay. And what was the fashion back then?
Dude, the fashion was, tall tees. They was almost on their way out with tall tees. The fitted hats, not snapbacks, the fitted hats with the circle, like new era hats.
Okay.
Just like white tees. That's when that song, it's called White Tee, Clean, my white tee came out. That Air Force Ones.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
With Nelly?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So that was the fashion, and I wanted to sell all that stuff online. But I didn't know how to make a website. Like, I didn't know anything about making websites. So I really just reached out to everything looked like a resource at that point. Checked out a couple of books from the library on PHP. That was the new programming language at the time. HTML, JavaScript. And it's funny enough, when I was in, what grade was that? When I was in elementary school, a teacher asked me if I know what JavaScript is.
In elementary?
In elementary school.
What elementary did you go to, man?
That was Cummings. Yeah, that was Cummings.
Okay.
And the teacher asked me if I know what JavaScript is. I was like, no, I had no idea. I didn't have any concept of what it was. But I wish she would have exposed me then. Like, to
you
what...
think that would have changed, like...
It, potentially. Because when I finally found out what JavaScript was and I thought back to that moment, I was like, what? Well, fourth grader knows what JavaScript is, but it's a massive skill. If you could teach your kids like what JavaScript and just let them know what it is, not necessarily just how to use it, I think it's beneficial.
So you just made me you reminded me of something that's actually going to go down. So I told you I'm a college student, but I actually applied for a part-time as well to get some extra money going that I can like put it back into the business. But what we're going to do is mentor kids, actually middle schoolers, towards like STEM related stuff.
Sure.
So that I guess that includes computer engineering, computer software.
Sure.
So I could kind of see where that fits in. Yeah. So how big do you think that is for like even a middle schooler? Because this happened in elementary.
Dude, I'm gonna put it like this, so that's documented. There's a trend that I see in successful programmers. Bill Gates, I believe his father was a programmer, so he was programming it's in his childhood. Matt, I'm forgetting his name now. Not Wahlberg. Okay, I'm not going to take too much time, but the creator of WordPress. Okay. His father was a programmer. It's in his childhood. Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, I was like,
I just said Matt.
Is this
Mark? Yeah, I was like, what in the world? Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay.
He's been programming his whole life. So the things that seem so new and esoteric to us, like I said, once you've been doing it for a certain amount of time, and that's the nature of programming, you have to do it repetitively. Once you've been doing it from childhood, it's a language to you. You understand it. So the earlier you can expose kids to it, the better. And people have come to realize this too. I was in a hackathon. There was some kid there coding Ruby Pi. It's a small interface for robotics. He was just going with it. Nothing was strange to him, So I don't necessarily subscribe to the belief that everybody should program, because it's not for everybody.
Gotcha.
But at least to have that sort of exposure to what it is. Like, you shouldn't come into the field and just I shouldn't say HTML is completely foreign to you, or JavaScript, and you don't even know what it's used for. So that's what I mean by exposure. But yeah, it definitely is gonna. You see kids using phones.
So I'm gonna take it a step further with the trend that you see. I think that even goes past coding. I mean, like when you think about, I guess, like Beyonce or like those types of, or an actress, or people that really make it. You kind of see the trend at an early age. They're either singing, making videos, either they're rapping when they're small.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, you're right. In a lot of cases, so I guess the benefit is, if it's for you, you'll know early if you want to stick to it. Versus getting older and wanting to try it out. I mean, you still can. Some people have the talent in them, they just didn't know at all. They didn't know like they could sing until somebody exposed them, like, hey, you're a good singer. Or they didn't know that their brain could actually function in a programmatic way. So, but in either case, it's better to be exposed to it early. That way you can determine that. Who knows?
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool, Mandela, that you express that. And also, jumping back into your early days of programming, once you grew up a little bit, you were in high school, you said you went to the library, then you met with this web developer.
Yeah.
How did that change the way you saw coding?
Yeah. So, being fresh, I did things the way I knew how to, but there was a web developer who I kept asking questions to, and he was working. I honestly don't even remember his name. But eventually, he did a style sheet for me in CSS, cascading style sheets. That's what you use to make sites look pretty, colors and all that. And when I saw his work, just the style of how the file looked, everything was one line, and it was so neat. I was like, wow. So this is what professionals do. And I compared it to my own work, and then that's when I knew I was like, I'm not good. I'm a beginner. So from there, it just kind of captivated me more, and then I realized how to actually make the HTML portion of the site, and then I realized how deep this was. Like, it was by far more than just scripting some pages and then styling them. Like, there's a whole science to it. And there's one, So that was an important part of my development. There was an online teacher. I apologize. I can't remember their names, and I should. I feel like I should, but
It's okay. You can give him a shout out.
Yeah, he was the editor for Tuts Plus.
Okay.
Very good teacher, and I'm thinking about it now, but I'm not gonna remember the name. But I would just rewatch his videos, and they were very simple things on how to make sliders, how to make, this is funny enough. The tutorial that I watched was how to convert a PSD, a Photoshop file, into an actual functional website, and I watched that so many times. And it's funny because when I went to college, that's the job that I got.
Wow.
Turning PSDs, Photoshop, so the designers would we call them slices, and they'd send us a folder full of pictures, and we turn them into websites. But I had watched that years ago, like how to do this, and that's the exact job that I had in college for like 2 years.
So when you were in college, what were you studying?
I studied civil engineering.
Okay, and so I'm studying engineering too, mechanical, and I think we talked about that as we were going up the elevator. Yeah. We were like, you're doing engineering? I thought you were doing video and photography.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, so how did you determine that civil engineering was just not for you? Like, you're like, you know what, this is not what I want to do. I'd rather do... Because you were web developing on the side, right?
In college, getting paid for it. And so the senior programmer at my job, he knew I was studying engineering, and he just asked me one day, like after lunch, he was like, and this is my senior year in college, he was like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to do engineering or are you going to do programming? And I was so conflicted. I didn't know how to, even at that point, I didn't know how to veer left. Something completely different from what I was studying, from what I was getting my degree in. So I actually went into the engineering field.
Oh, for real?
Oh, absolutely.
For how long?
4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
So were you a drafter? What was your...
I was a designer. I was a transportation engineer.
Okay.
Right. And I mean, when I was doing the job, I would still be coding on the side when I went home, but it was completely different from when I was coding full time. So even in that time, the field of web development changes so quickly, day to day. Like, you really have to have your ear to the ground, or just like be in the industry to know what's happening. So I could see my skills digressing. I was tired after work. I couldn't really just code how I wanted to. So twist of fate, now I'm looking for my next full-time web development gig at this very moment.
Okay.
But I have way much more time to code and just really get better at the skills that I know I'll be using long term. So, I mean, if you will, what am I studying now? React, that's a major language if you want to get a job. React, Node, which is server-side JavaScript again.
And so when you think about like the skills that programmers need to have in an industry that changes so quickly, what are just some skills that you think they should have that will help them get through the learning curve, of new things that pop up?
Yeah. So being a programmer is like learning how to learn fast. Because any given day, like a new technology does pop up and you have to learn it if your job requires it. For me, I think the thing that aids my learning most is get good at one language. So for me, that language was PHP. And through that language, I understand, every other language, right? So whether it's Swift or Java or Objective-C, I understand it through the lens of PHP. And I was actually talking to another programmer about this the other day. If you understand like programming patterns, which is kind of an advanced topic, once you start talking about the architecture of a program and an application, if you understand the patterns, it's easier to do it in whatever language you're asked to do. Okay. Right? So the only thing that's going to change about the program is the syntax. How do you write a for loop? How do you write an if statement? How do you write a switch statement? How do you declare a class?
And actually right now I'm taking MATLAB. Yeah. So I'm learning these things. Right. There's a few classmates of mine that do programming on the side, so they're a little bit more ahead. Right. I tried programming. I don't know if you've heard of the Go language.
Yeah.
I tried it with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And actually, we interviewed him, I think, last week.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well.
Didn't go.
It didn't go well. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
The whole coding.
Okay.
I've tried it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So when I hear the whole like do what you love, I like it. I don't love it.
Right.
But I definitely see the value of knowing at least the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, like you said, it's good for you to be able to determine that. So for you, what I hear is like you don't even have the desire to learn more about it. Like you know it's not for you.
Yeah, like you learn up to a certain point, right? Just
right.
to like
right.
And let's say you do need someone to like code or
mm-hmm.
hire or like you have an idea
mm-hmm.
of what it is,
mm-hmm.
but I don't need to be an expert in it if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, for me it's the same way. I just like to program, but even at a high level, what I found is that most of the best products, at some point, they're built by a team.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you build something by yourself, when you want to take it like to a production scale, you have to bring in better talent. You have to bring in more talent to do, what you're trying to do. So, look at it this way: Mark Zuckerberg doesn't code anymore.
Of course not. Yeah.
No.
He's got his little program.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Most of the higher up guys and it doesn't even have to go up that high, but once you get to a certain level, you're not going to be programming anymore. You probably still understand the dev portion of it, but at that point you brought in other people to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see it as you understand enough to kind of get a prototype, get a beta going, kind of communicate the idea to other people, say, hey, this is what it's supposed to do. But once you want to scale it, I mean, it's just like you're going to bring in other people.
Yeah, exactly.
So I more like the idea of being able to think of something and work on it and build it and conceive it and communicate it to the world. That's what I appreciate about the culture.
Gotcha.
And of course, I mean, the day and age that we live in, because people have been programming, but they weren't making the dollars that they are now.
And so if I were to ask you, like, for you, what's your goal, with programming?
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't know this background of engineering.
Yeah.
I don't know if it still has a role in what you do day to day.
Yeah.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but what are your goals moving forward? You said finding a full-time position.
Yeah, yeah.
What else?
So exclusive to your I'm not an engineer anymore. That's been, the last day was like a month ago.
Gotcha.
February 5th. But like I know that my next role will be in web development, and I've had a bunch of ideas that I want to develop, really centering around the fitness realm, my fitness blog, Time to Get Big. Just using that as an avenue to train people, get some online classes going, and just see who's gonna reach, who's gonna impact. And as far as the web development goes, wow, I don't even know, honestly. My main goal is just to keep my skills sharp, and maybe help somebody develop their ideas. Like we were talking a little earlier, I can help you. Maybe you have some friends that need help, or I mean, who knows? Who knows? Just kind of pay attention to what's happening in the technology realm and somehow be involved in it.
Gotcha. No, that's special, man. And when it comes to the whole web development, do your parents did they kind of feed you that early on? No, family members?
No, not at all.
No?
Not at all. Only thing, I'm trying to see how much my sister is interested now.
Gotcha.
If she has any proclivity for it, then, try to feed her that. But no, it's just something that kind of...
You kind of found.
It just came to me.
Because on our show, there's some people that actually are still either in high school, or there might be some college students. So let's talk about, was there pressure for you from your parents to do a certain major or take a certain path? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, no, there was really no pressure from my parents. I just kind of let them know. Because coming up, I actually wanted to be a civil engineer. So I was very grateful for the opportunity to be able to study and become a civil engineer. So, but the whole time, I mean, my mom and dad knew that that's what I was going for, so everybody was cool with it. Mom came to my graduation, you know, do what all mothers do, and cheer for her son. But no, there was definitely no pressure. I chose it, and I guess there was just a point when I would be coding, and I would really come to that realization that there's nothing in engineering that's gonna make me as fulfilled or like as happy as doing this. This is what I like to do.
Okay.
You know, so it was just that really kind of realization that this is what I want to do. What am I still searching for? You know, I like to do it. So.
And that wasn't hard for you, like making that switch, or was it hard? You know, after finishing your degree, working for engineering, and thinking, okay, like how do you make that switch?
No, I mean, no. It was just kind of like an epiphany. Like I would have friends in the technology field, and you know, just kind of talk to them a little about what they were doing, whether it was working with Microsoft Cloud, their Azure, their platform. And then also because I had been a web developer for 2 years, so I knew what that was like. You know, I wasn't completely green to that anymore. And comparing it to what I was doing now, and I was like, oh my Lord, do I really want to do this for 10 more years or 20 more years? And then what's going to happen to my web development career? And it was a scary thought, actually. Like, what if I don't develop again? So no, just having that kind of security, like this is what I want to do. I really don't have regard anymore for whatever else I was doing. I think that that's more valuable. If it's for you, definitely go for it. And if it's not, then it's just not for you.
Okay, so I guess you could speak to the audience. Like, let's say someone that actually has studied something. They've been doing it for a while, and they're debating. You know, maybe they have family, so it's a little bit. You know, it's harder.
Yes.
You can't really just jump ship. Say, you know what? We're gonna go do something else.
Yeah.
You know, so that might be something coming up, or maybe they're single and they're just debating. You know, I already put this much time into my craft. Should I switch?
Yeah.
What do you tell the people, man?
I tell the people, honestly, you have a commitment to your dream. You don't know why you get dreams, why you get inspiration, but I mean, your responsibility is to nurture them. You know, so regardless, even in hindsight, from my experience, how long did I spend in engineering? Okay, I went to school for about 5.5 years to get my degree, and then worked in the field for 4 more years after. That's almost a decade. But each year, it was really about halfway through that I knew that I liked something else. And what I'm saying is, it's okay to switch. It's okay to do something completely different. You know, in the long run, if you take 3 years, compare that to however long you're going to be working in that, God willing, it's really it's a small amount of time that you took to figure out what you really wanted to do. But don't waste time thinking that you have an obligation to the past or anybody else. Especially, I mean, it happens. I understand, like, the pressure from parents to do something else, or maybe you think that something else will be lucrative and you have to take care of family, or maybe you're in that kind of situation. But it's not worth sacrificing what you want to do if you know that that's what you want to do. So, and you don't know what kind of origination is going to come out of that. You might think of the next great film, the next great event. I mean, you don't know.
You never know.
You never know, and you really can't discount it or dismiss it. So, and you have people I think those people are the most fulfilled, who do what they feel drawn to, you know, because you can't really explain why you're being drawn to that, but don't ignore it and don't suppress it. I wouldn't say that, and especially not for anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I used to think like very rogue. I was like, you know what? Just leave your job, do what you got to do. You know, follow your passion.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking of it like a little bit more practical. So I want to know your thoughts on this new idea that I have.
Yeah.
Whenever people have a job, like let's say you're doing engineering, you do it from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But your passion is, web development.
Yeah.
What about someone that if they really want to do web development, but they can't because either their lifestyle, they're trying to sustain it because of their 9 to 5, or like you said, there's other things that are getting in the way of that.
Yeah.
If they really need that job before they can make that jump, what about them doing both at the same time?
Well, I mean,
what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's personal. As that was me. I actually tried doing that. for me, like the growth came from doing it full time, from being around better programmers.
Okay.
It wasn't. I mean, in the 2 years, in however many years that I programmed after work, it was almost like nothing compared to being in the room with experienced programmers for a day,
Okay.
for a week. Just the conversations that you find yourself in and the new technologies that you're exposed to is worth something. And the most invaluable thing to me when I was working was not having to Google everything that I needed to know. I could literally turn around and say, hey, Jeff, how do you do this?
And
he would show me instantly. 2 or 3 times, now I know how to do it for sure. I don't have to Google it anymore. And you can imagine how much that adds to your skill set. Okay, you see best practices, the way people do things. You might be doing something and somebody just corrects you and boom, you're a better programmer. The different tools that you use to develop. So for me, and I mean, I've heard people say it too, the best way to get better is like shadow programming.
Okay.
This is basically what I was doing, just looking directly over somebody's shoulder and saying, okay, wow, that's how you do it. So you can compare that to working by yourself. So for somebody who's green, it's tough. But they do have programs out there because, if you are in that situation, then you're not necessarily unique. They have things like Free Code Camp. They have meetups around town where you can go and,
That's actually how we met up, right?
Yeah, through a meetup, right? But not free code.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
through a meetup.
Yeah, so they have different things like that where you can go and meet people. I've been to the Free Code Camp meetup. I haven't been to a Flatiron School class, but I've been to their meetup. They're kind of small. So you can go that route. But I would say that eventually you will, because you have to ask yourself, why are you doing it? You're not going to stay a part-time developer, part-time whatever you're doing forever.
For sure.
Right. Eventually you're going to want to jump ship.
You have to do one or the other.
One or the other.
Yeah,
The only reason,
great. Yeah.
Exactly. Or the only reason you're even studying is because you want to jump ship, right? You're not studying just to do it part-time.
For sure.
So, and if that's the case, then I understand. For me, it worked out that I did have kind of like a supplement, just to fall back to sustain me while I get better and look for another job. But don't jeopardize everything. Don't throw away your life.
Don't just jump ship and
with no plan at all.
For sure.
But again, if it's something that you want to do, then I would, don't let it go completely. Is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because it usually has a limit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna record again. I already have a question that I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
So. All right, sweet. So we're back. We're back with Mandela after a quick break, and what I want to ask you, Mandela, is what during that period when you were trying to, decide what you were gonna do, if you were gonna go to web development.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is, why did you wait? I'm just curious. I want to, get inside your dome and understand what Mandela was thinking during that period.
Yeah.
Why didn't you jump sooner? Is what I'm asking.
That's a very good question. 2 things. I didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do it because I was applying to some jobs, but my skill set wasn't just up to par. That and believe it or not, I had not yet worked a developer job where that paid as much as I was getting paid as an engineer, right? So working as an engineer, that's the most money I've ever earned in my life. It wasn't making me just, pull up to the bank rich, but it is more than any other 9-to-5 job than I've worked before. So I guess it just wasn't the right opportunity before life happens for everybody, so whatever money I was getting from engineering, using that to, take care of my responsibilities. So it just wasn't smart to say, oh, hey, I'm just live reckless or do what I want to do and forget every other responsibility that I have. So just really didn't have the opportunity to do it. But at this point, everything just worked out. And for me, I'll say I'm trusting God for everything. I probably would have been still been waiting to this day. But the way things worked out is just financially, I'm good. I'm not starving. And I have more time to really set myself up for the web development career that I'm looking for. So it's just timing, the way I see it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, Mandela. And before I guess we wrap up, we always like to ask our guests to give us 3 keys. 3 keys of that you've defined, or not just, I guess you could define them as success, but that have helped you become the person that you are and to reach some level of success.
Wow.
3 keys.
3 keys. So, for me, I'm gonna use.
This is big because this is gonna be on the record.
This is gonna be on the record.
It's gonna
right?
be on the record, man.
Okay.
Forever till you're 80.
Till I'm 80.
Your grandchildren are gonna see this. They're gonna see, okay.
Exactly. So I'm gonna say this, but it's not necessarily key. It's the inspiration for all the keys I'm about to give you.
Okay.
You understand? And for me, I have to say, like you said, it's for the record. Trust God.
You can only have 3 though.
Okay, but
this is 3 though. If that's gonna be one, that's gonna be one of them though.
Okay.
Just messing with you. Go ahead. Tell us.
Okay, yeah. Trust God. Put your faith in God. For me, I live by my Christian faith. So, but the principles that I've gotten from that are work hard. Work hard. There's no easy way to do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And regardless, there's no easy money out there. You have to be willing to put in the work. Be willing to put in the work to do what you want to do. So yeah, work hard. You could say work smart, but I would say that's the one key. Be willing to put in the work for whatever it is that you want to do. For me, one thing that helped me not to waste time was know what you want to do. What Mandela wants to do, what Dave wants to do. That's second. Be true to yourself. Be true. Once you know that what you want to do, you don't have to waste time. You can be more efficient about getting to business. Even if later on down the road you determine that that's not what you want to do, in that moment for however long, you're walking that path, you know that you're doing it for your personal reasons. You have your justification for doing it, so you're not necessarily copying anybody. And wow. I mean, shoot, there's so many, but I would say...
It's always the last one, too. It's always the last one that trips everybody up.
Yeah.
But you got this. Our listeners have faith in you, man.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna say this. Help people and be willing to receive help. Because...
Well, that could go on a t-shirt, bro.
Yeah, because
okay.
What I said was be willing to put in the work, but even if you do your best, you might still not reach the mark. Wherever you're trying to get to, you're gonna need somebody's help. And however that makes you better, you're gonna have to help somebody else too. So any idea I have, anything that I've done that's become magnified, become optimized, if you will, become grander in any way, it's because somebody helped, somebody added their sweat equity, their energy, their knowledge to it. Mm-hmm. And it's in a way that I could not have done it. So whether it's getting a degree or just making a website better, getting better, it's somebody pouring into me, right? Mm-hmm. And so just like now I'm trying to teach juniors or anybody who comes across and say, hey, I can help you do that. You don't know, there's so many things that happen along the way that you can help somebody, and little things that people help you with, that if you really take the time to think about it, it's without that, you can never get to where you're supposed to be. So help people and be willing to help. Yeah.
Great.
Nobody's an island.
We had a great time, Mandela, having you on the show, and I think, like you said, doing the right thing is always the right thing.
Yeah.
It plays out for you in the end.
It's gonna go on the shirt too.
That's gonna go on the shirt. It's gonna go on the back of the shirt.
Yeah.
So Mandela, thank you, man, for being on the podcast.
Bro.
We appreciate you. And this is your plug, man. Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. So Mandela.Effiong on Instagram. That's my personal. You can also follow me at It's Time to Get Big on Instagram. Time to Get Big on Twitter, and Time to Get Big on Facebook. So that's where you find me. I do respond to DMs. Yeah, and dude, I appreciate this. I'm expecting great things for 2019 already. So
That's good, man.
I'm sure we'll be hearing from you. Yeah.
Same here. So thank you guys for tuning in, and this has been The Journey. So thanks, Mandela.
Thanks so much.
Man, that was good. How'd you feel?
Oh, bro, it was good. It was a conversation, man.
It's good. Not too nerve-wracking, or?
No, I mean, I am sweating a little bit, but I don't know why.